You hear that? Didn't sound so rubbery. It's a new material I'm gonna try to use for making the tracks. It's a flexible material, a TPU, but it's I think it was a shore hardness of 45D, so it's pretty stiff. So that's made me have the advantage to make a really thin track when keeping the total strength in it. You see, it doesn't go out like the rubber track I had before. So hopefully the spacing will be kept all the time and not gonna ratch on the dry wheel. It's very light due to I can print it so thin. This is 1mm thick. The old track that I used was, I think it was 2mm. I think so, yeah. And it was considered much heavier. When it's like more plastic, I think it's gonna slide better on the bogie. It's really light. I'm gonna have 5 of them, so it's not gonna be just over 100 grams, 125 grams. So it's a very lightweight track. And I have one piece here that I failed. See, it lifted. It's a little hard when printing because you have to keep the bed temperature at 100 degrees. And if you accidentally open the door or it cools too fast, it warps really bad, as you can see here. Well, I don't have a force gauge, so I can't really measure how much because I'm gonna try to drag this apart or break it. I've shoved the screwdriver into one of the 2mm holes, and I mean, it's hard to even see how much force I put into this, but it's ridiculous. It's insane. And it's only this little piece that's hold this together. I mean, if I can't break it like that by hand, and I'm gonna have 3 pieces with steel rods through it and plastic welded together. Well, I'm gonna print out 2 more and install it. Okay, we're back in the workshop. As you can see, I have removed the track. This is just scrap. Not gonna need that anymore. As you see, I have assembled the new track. I took the steel pins from the old track. It's very high durable rods or steel rods. It's common used in RC planes for control rods. So they can flex a lot and still come back to its original shape. So I put them in, but I have not plastic welded it yet. So that's what we're gonna do now. Let's do it. See, plastic welded it like that. And then starting on the inside, adding just a groove into it at first, then adding some same filament and just melt it into the crack. And do it on both sides just to be sure that I have melted right through. I have plastic welded all the joints. While I was plastic welding, I printed some new parts, so I'm gonna go get them and install. So I have adjusted the track tensioner. I filed out the hole so I could move in it. It's still pretty hard to turn. I mean, I don't know if this even is the best material to make a track, but I'm gonna try to run with it a few times and see if it's kind of works itself in and goes smoother. I also mounted the new skis, so we'll see how everything works. Well, I just have to wait on some snow and test it. So I tested out the new track and it didn't work. The thing, it's a really good track, but it runs really rough. It had a rough going on it. I don't know what to fix on it. I tried to loosen it up even more. So I just went out and tested it, and after a while it started to run really rough and it lost a lot of power, and the bearing on the drive shaft, it snapped and it started melting its way into the plastic, as you can see. So it's totally locked now. I cannot move, so I'm gonna need to print out a complete new middle frame and rethink. One more thing I'm gonna test, because all these rubber tracks that I have made, because I have such a hard angle on the wheels, and even the drive wheel is even tighter, it's a huge energy loss. I mean, it turns so it's so hard to turn. It works with the Ninja Flex that I had before, it works, but I lose a lot of energy using that track. And the engine gets really hot, cables, ESC, everything overheats if I run with it too long. So I have one more thing I'm gonna test. It's go back to the first design I had, which was separate pieces along the track. It moves most smoothly around the track. I could just pull it with my finger easy. But I'm gonna try print it with this rubber material. This is pretty hard rubber, so if I make them just 2mm thick, they're gonna be really strong. So I'm gonna try that, and that will be my last test on it. And if that don't work, I'm just gonna stick with Ninja Flex and have it like it is. But I want to find a more efficient track on it, just to get away the energy loss. So, epic fail? Well, see you next time.